Welcome to Nursing 508, Module 14. This week we're discussing dissemination, the sharing of results from evidence-based practice or research projects. Dissemination is the sharing of your results from an EBP or research project. It can occur at many different levels and via many different formats. Within your agency or clinic, the results of a project can be shared during routine meetings or in regularly distributed communications, such as newsletters. It is important to consider sharing the findings outside of nursing with colleagues from other disciplines. Dissemination of the results of a project should go beyond your agency or clinic. Externally, dissemination can take many forms. There are many nursing and interdisciplinary conferences that take place every year. There are different types of presentations provided at most conferences. Conferences typically post a call for abstracts approximately 1 year ahead of time. An abstract such as the one you'll be completing on your SOS/EBP paper next week is a succinct summary of the project on which you'd like to present. Each conference has their own criteria and process for submitting abstracts. Typically a blinded, which means authors' names have been removed, copy of the abstract is peer-reviewed for selection. Those selected are informed by the conference selection committee in advance so that you can register to attend the conference and prepare your presentation. Sometimes the conference committee will inform applicants of the type of presentation they've been accepted for, and other times the applicants will indicate the type of presentation for which they're applying. Poster presentations are just what they sound like. There is typically a large conference hall where many presenters hang posters to discuss with conference attendees. The posters summarize the presenter's project process and findings. Their content is similar to that of a research report outlined in our Grove text, chapter 27. Conference attendees file through, review posters of interest, and visit with the presenters, asking questions about their project. Frequently, this is where nurses meet other nurses with similar interests. Podium presentations are brief verbal presentations that outline the project. Again, the content of these presentations is similar to the report content outlined in the Grove text, but each conference provides their own instructions to presenters. Generally, podium presentations are approximately 10 to 15 minutes in length, are accompanied by an audio-visual presentation, and are followed by about 5 to 10 minutes for questions. A symposium presentation is typically provided by a group of presenters. For example, if there were several people involved in a project and the topic of their project was viewed as one that warranted additional time, then each member of the team might present on a specific aspect of the project. It's basically a string of podium presentations on one topic. All of these types of presentations can be performed at professional nursing conferences or interdisciplinary conferences. The abstract that you'll be completing as an assignment next week can be submitted to the Western Institute of Nursing Research for poster presentation. I'll provide more details about that next week, but it is something to consider. If you are chosen to present, then Boise State School of Nursing will provide financial support for your travel and accommodations. The conference is in Disneyland this next year. Another means of disseminating results of a project is via publication in a journal. Each journal has its own criteria and process for submitting manuscripts. It is quite a comprehensive and time-consuming process that you will want assistance with on your first try. Some of you may have already published and can share that experience with your classmates. I'll cover publication in a bit more detail later in this lecture. Unfortunately, there are barriers that prevent many nurses from disseminating the results of their project. We are all very busy, and this is just one more thing that requires time and effort. It is easy to push it aside and say, I'll write that up someday when I have time. Many people are uncomfortable with public speaking and thus avoid submitting abstracts. I would encourage you to start with a poster presentation if you're worried about speaking in front of a large audience. With poster presentations, you talk to individuals as they come by, not large groups. Many potential presenters do not feel comfortable enough with their writing skills to submit an abstract. When, and you'll notice I did not say if, you are considering preparing an abstract for submission, have a colleague review it for you or ask someone who has presented at a conference for assistance. Attending conferences can be expensive. There are costs for travel, hotels, and meals, in addition to those for conference attendance that can be quite steep themselves. This is where administrative support comes in. Many facilities recognize the positive exposure they receive when an employee presents at a conference, so they may be willing to assist with costs. Assistance with overcoming all of these barriers can be provided by a mentor. Find someone who has completed EBP or research projects, has succeeded in presenting their findings, and is willing to help help you through the process. Submitting a manuscript for publication in a journal is a complex and time-consuming process. Listed here are the major steps involved. Deciding which journal would be appropriate for your topic is one of the first steps. Throughout the EBP or research project, you will have reviewed much of the existing literature on your topic of interest and thus should be quite familiar with the journals in which the articles were published. These journals may be a good place to start your exploration. You will want to submit your manuscript to a journal that typically publishes articles on topics similar to your own. A journal's refereed status is another factor to consider. A refereed journal requires blind manuscripts to be reviewed by a team of reviewers for determination of appropriateness for publication. Such journals are generally held in higher esteem than non-refereed journals, and some facilities will not recognize publications in non-refereed journals. You may also want to consider a journal's impact factor. A journal's impact factor refers to the number of times that journal is cited in a given period of time. The higher the impact factor, the higher the quality of the publication is considered. Therefore, you should attempt to be published in a journal with as high an impact factor as possible. You may also want to review a journal's manuscript response processes and timelines when deciding where to submit your manuscript. After you've identified a number of journals in which you'd like to publish your manuscript, you should send a query letter to the editor. In this letter, you will very briefly provide the details of your project and your background. The Grove text recommends including the abstract of your manuscript in a query letter. The purpose of a query letter is to determine if your manuscript is of interest to the editor. An editor's positive response does not mean that your manuscript will be published, only that it is appropriate for submission to that particular journal. Each journal has its very own detailed instructions and criteria, and you will have to adjust your manuscript to meet the journal specification. You need to incorporate assistance from colleagues, feedback from those colleagues when writing a manuscript for the first time especially. Most manuscripts are written as a team, and determining who's the first author is an entire topic of discussion on its own. But even if you're not writing within a team, you should have colleagues review your writing and provide feedback. Most manuscripts require hours and hours of writing and revision prior to submission. You should only submit your manuscript to one journal at a time. It is considered unethical to submit to multiple journals trying to see who will accept it. You should prioritize the journals that you would like to submit to and do so one at a time. Typically, manuscripts are not very commonly accepted as is. They're either rejected outright, accepted with minor revisions, or tentatively accepted with need for major revisions. If your manuscript is rejected outright, try not to take it personally. Many a great writer has had multiple manuscripts rejected. If there are revisions called for, be sure to address each and every one and note the line in your manuscript where each recommended revision was addressed. Your manuscript may be returned for revisions more than once. Each revision will require additional significant time. While even reading about the process required can seem daunting, when a manuscript is published, it is a wonderful feeling and you forget all about the many hours you spent in anguish. This can be especially true when the entire process is shared with colleagues, as it generally is. I realize that right now, as a student, your focus is on coursework, as it should be. Please do keep thoughts of dissemination in the back of your mind as you go on to do great things as an NP. Next week, we'll talk about how you may be able to do. I'll provide information on how you can do a poster presentation of the findings from your EBP SOS paper at WIN with financial support from the School of Nursing. Have a good week.